God says, "My child, listen carefully, because what you are about to hear is wrapped in the language of faith and hope, and it is told as a story meant to encourage your heart." There are moments that appear ordinary to human eyes but are surrounded by mysteries that only heaven fully understands. Today is one of those moments. Something has happened that your spirit has been sensing for longer than your mind could explain. You have felt unusual emotions. You have wondered why your heart has been restless. You have questioned why certain memories returned without warning and why hope refused to disappear even when disappointment tried to convince you that everything was over. Stay with me. Do not stop listening. There is something your heart has longed to understand. In this story, your soulmate has just received a phone call, and what seemed like an ordinary conversation became the beginning of a chain of events that neither of you expected. The voice on the other end did not simply speak words. It awakened forgotten emotions. It stirred questions that had been buried beneath fear. It reminded your soulmate of a name they had tried to silence inside their own heart. That name was yours. Before that phone ever rang, the unseen world had already begun moving in ways invisible to human understanding. Long before anyone reached for the phone, prayers had been whispered into quiet nights. Tears had fallen where no audience applauded. Silent hopes had risen from hearts that believed no one was listening. Yet heaven had not ignored a single one. Every sigh, every lonely evening, every question that escaped your lips had been noticed. Nothing was forgotten. Nothing was wasted. Keep listening, because this is only the beginning. Your spirit already sensed that something was changing, even if your eyes could not yet see it. Imagine the quiet atmosphere before that unexpected call arrived. Your soulmate had been carrying burdens that words could barely describe. They smiled before others while hiding confusion within themselves. They tried convincing everyone that they had moved on, yet every attempt to silence their heart only caused your memory to echo louder. They asked themselves why peace continued to escape them. They searched for answers in distractions, in conversations, in achievements, and in endless routines, yet every road somehow led back to thoughts they could not explain. Then the phone rang. It interrupted an ordinary moment, but heaven often works through moments that appear ordinary. The first greeting sounded simple enough, yet every sentence that followed began unlocking doors hidden inside the soul. Your name was mentioned unexpectedly. Stories were shared that your soulmate never knew. Truths emerged that challenged assumptions. Misunderstandings slowly began falling apart like old walls that had stood for too long. Listen carefully, my child. Sometimes transformation does not arrive through dramatic miracles visible to crowds. Sometimes it begins with one conversation, one unexpected reminder, one gentle interruption that redirects an entire future. Your soulmate tried to remain calm during that conversation, yet inside their heart emotions were colliding like powerful waves. Questions they thought were answered suddenly returned. Regret whispered beside hope. Fear stood beside love. Pride wrestled with humility. Their hands grew still. Their breathing changed. They stared into silence after the call ended because they realized something within them had shifted forever. But that is not the deepest truth. There is something heaven has not revealed until now. What changed inside your soulmate was not simply emotion. It was perspective. They began seeing your story differently. They remembered moments they once dismissed. They recalled kindness they failed to appreciate. They noticed sacrifices they never fully understood. They recognized that what they had mistaken for weakness was actually strength, and what they had called coincidence may have been divine timing unfolding one quiet step at a time. Stay with me, because the story grows deeper. While your soulmate reflected upon everything they had heard, you were living your own journey. Perhaps you wondered whether your prayers had disappeared into silence. Perhaps you believed your waiting had no purpose. Perhaps you questioned whether healing was even possible anymore. Yet unseen growth had been taking place within you as well. Every delay strengthened wisdom. Every disappointment deepened compassion. Every unanswered question expanded faith in ways you could not measure. Heaven does not always remove every difficult path immediately. Sometimes the journey itself becomes the place where hearts are prepared for blessings they once would not have been ready to receive. Do not look away. There is something you still do not know. In this story, unseen messengers watched with quiet purpose. They witnessed conversations that people quickly forgot. They observed choices that seemed insignificant. They guarded moments when despair nearly overcame hope. They rejoiced whenever forgiveness became stronger than bitterness. They celebrated every step toward healing because true restoration begins long before visible reunion. Your soulmate could not explain why sleep became difficult after that phone call. Thoughts circled endlessly through the night. Memories returned with remarkable clarity. Certain words repeated within their mind. They remembered laughter they once overlooked. They remembered prayers they never knew you whispered. They remembered moments when love quietly stood beside them while fear convinced them to walk away. Every recollection softened another layer of the wall surrounding their heart. Listen carefully, my child. Hearts often change gradually before they change completely. Just as dawn slowly replaces darkness, understanding often arrives little by little until suddenly everything looks different. Your soulmate began recognizing that the greatest battle had never been against circumstances. The greatest battle had always been within themselves. Fear had disguised itself as wisdom. Pride had disguised itself as protection. Doubt had disguised itself as logic. Yet truth patiently remained alive beneath every disguise, waiting for the moment when courage would finally awaken. Keep listening. What I am about to reveal changes everything. There came a quiet evening when your soulmate sat alone, reflecting upon every word from that unexpected conversation. Silence surrounded them, yet inside their spirit countless questions echoed. They asked themselves whether it was too late. They wondered whether hope still existed. They questioned whether forgiveness could truly rebuild what time appeared to have broken. And somewhere deep within that stillness, peace gently whispered that love rooted in truth is never measured merely by the passing of days but by the transformation of hearts. Meanwhile, your own heart continued learning trust. Every prayer strengthened endurance. Every act of kindness planted seeds unseen by human eyes. Even when no one applauded your faithfulness, heaven noticed. Even when no one understood your tears, compassion remained near. Nothing offered in genuine love was forgotten. This story reminds every listening heart that unseen goodness is never wasted. There are seasons when answers seem delayed, not because hope has disappeared but because hearts are still becoming who they were created to be. Stay with me. The phone call was never merely about information. It became an invitation toward awakening. It challenged assumptions. It exposed hidden fears. It reminded your soulmate that love built upon honesty cannot remain buried forever. It revealed that healing begins when truth is welcomed without resistance. Slowly, their prayers changed. Instead of asking only for certainty, they began asking for wisdom. Instead of seeking only comfort, they sought courage. Instead of demanding immediate answers, they learned to value steady transformation. And as their hearts softened, they discovered that genuine peace grows wherever humility makes room for grace. Listen carefully, because many people misunderstand waiting. Waiting is not always empty. Waiting often becomes the workshop where hope is refined. Waiting teaches patience, compassion, endurance, and discernment. Waiting reveals whether love depends upon convenience or whether it remains faithful through uncertainty. Your journey has not been meaningless. Every chapter has quietly prepared the next. Every tear has watered unseen gardens. Every prayer has become part of a greater story that extends beyond what your eyes presently understand. Keep listening. This is only the beginning. The ending of this story is not built upon fear but upon hope. It reminds every weary heart that restoration begins within before it becomes visible around us. It reminds every soul that forgiveness is stronger than resentment, truth is stronger than confusion, and hope is stronger than despair. The unexpected phone call became a symbol that ordinary moments can carry extraordinary meaning. It became a reminder that even when life seems silent, unseen possibilities continue unfolding. So if your heart has grown tired, let this story encourage you. If you have wondered whether goodness still finds those who wait, let this story remind you that every season has its purpose. Lift your eyes with renewed faith. Walk forward with renewed courage. Continue choosing kindness even when it feels unnoticed. Continue choosing hope even when certainty has not yet arrived. Continue believing that healing is possible because transformed hearts create transformed futures. And when fear whispers that nothing is changing, remember this story of the unexpected call, the awakened heart, the quiet unfolding of truth, and the gentle assurance that hope has a way of arriving when it is needed most. Go forward in peace, my child. Let faith become stronger than fear, compassion stronger than anger, patience stronger than haste, and hope stronger than every shadow. The story does not end with uncertainty. It ends with a heart that has learned to trust, a soul that has learned to heal, and a future left open to grace, wisdom, and love. God says, "My child, do not stop listening, because the story has not yet reached the place where the deepest truth is revealed." What seemed like the ending of that unexpected phone call was only the beginning of a far greater movement taking place within hearts that heaven had been patiently preparing. Your soulmate tried to return to the routines of daily life, yet nothing felt the same anymore. Every familiar place seemed to carry a new meaning. Every quiet moment echoed with questions they could no longer ignore. The conversation they had just experienced refused to fade into memory because it had awakened something that had been sleeping beneath layers of fear, disappointment, and misunderstanding. Listen carefully, my child, because there are moments when truth does not arrive with noise. It arrives gently, settling into the deepest places of the soul until every false belief begins to lose its strength. Your soulmate sat in silence, replaying every word they had heard. They remembered details they once overlooked. They remembered the kindness you showed without expecting anything in return. They remembered the patience you carried even when your own heart was breaking. They remembered moments when they walked away while you quietly prayed for peace instead of revenge. Those memories became impossible to escape. They no longer felt like ordinary memories. They felt like gentle lights shining into places that had remained dark for far too long. Stay with me. There is something you still do not know. While your soulmate wrestled with these emotions, heaven continued working in ways invisible to human eyes. The unseen realm was not driven by panic. It moved with perfect wisdom and perfect timing. Every delay had served a purpose. Every unanswered prayer had been held with compassion. Every tear had been counted. Even the nights when you believed no one understood your pain were never hidden from my sight. I remained near when your heart trembled. I remained beside you when hope seemed fragile. I remained faithful even when circumstances tempted you to believe otherwise. Keep listening, because your spirit has already sensed that this story reaches far beyond one phone call. The call became a doorway. On the other side waited revelations that neither of you expected. Your soulmate began noticing signs that seemed ordinary to everyone else but deeply personal to them. A familiar song unexpectedly played. A place connected to precious memories suddenly appeared in front of them. Someone casually spoke words that reminded them of you. Each moment seemed small by itself, yet together they formed a quiet invitation to stop running from the truth. Listen carefully, my child. Sometimes I speak through the gentle rhythm of everyday life. I remind hearts of what truly matters, not to burden them with the past, but to prepare them for healing. Healing cannot begin where truth is rejected. Healing blossoms where honesty is welcomed with humility. Your soulmate slowly realized that the greatest obstacle had never been distance. It had been fear. Fear whispered that vulnerability would bring rejection. Fear convinced them that silence was safer than honesty. Fear built walls that looked strong from the outside but left the heart lonely within. Yet truth stood patiently outside those walls, waiting for the moment courage would finally open the gate. Do not look away. What I am about to reveal changes everything. There came another quiet evening when your soulmate found themselves looking toward the sky. The stars seemed brighter than usual, not because the heavens had changed, but because their heart had begun to see differently. For the first time in a long while, they stopped asking only what they wanted. Instead, they asked what was right. They stopped asking how to avoid pain. Instead, they asked how to become the person they were meant to be. Those prayers rose with sincerity, and sincere prayers always begin transforming the one who speaks them. Meanwhile, my child, you continued growing in ways you could not fully recognize. You believed you were simply surviving difficult days, but I was shaping strength within you. I was teaching your heart to love without losing kindness. I was teaching your spirit to trust without demanding immediate answers. I was preparing you for blessings that required wisdom as much as desire. Every season of waiting refined your character. Every challenge deepened your compassion. Every disappointment quietly strengthened your faith. Stay with me. This is only the beginning. Your soulmate began to understand that love is not proven by beautiful words alone. Love is revealed through transformation. It is revealed when pride becomes humility. It is revealed when fear becomes courage. It is revealed when selfishness gives way to sacrifice. The phone call had planted a seed, but now that seed was beginning to grow into something neither of you could yet fully see. Heaven watched patiently as hearts softened one decision at a time. There was no rushing. There was no forcing. True change cannot be manufactured overnight. It unfolds gradually, just as dawn slowly replaces darkness. Listen carefully, my child. Your heart has carried questions that only time and grace can answer. You have wondered whether your story still holds purpose. You have questioned whether love forgotten by people can still be remembered by heaven. Hear this gentle reminder. Nothing rooted in genuine love is ever lost. Even when circumstances appear confusing, I continue weaving together threads you cannot yet see. What appears delayed to you is never forgotten by me. Every chapter serves a purpose greater than itself. Every lesson prepares you for another revelation. Every closed door redirects your steps toward wisdom. Keep listening. There is something heaven has not revealed until now. Your soulmate began praying for you without fully realizing it. Quietly, sincerely, they asked for your peace, your healing, and your happiness. Those prayers surprised even them because they came from a heart that had finally begun choosing love over pride. In that very moment, unseen hope grew stronger. The distance between fear and faith became smaller. The silence between brokenness and healing became shorter. Heaven rejoiced not because everything had already been completed, but because hearts were finally moving in the right direction. That is how miracles often begin, not with loud celebrations, but with quiet surrender. My child, if you are listening with a weary heart today, let this story remind you that transformation often begins before visible answers arrive. Continue walking with hope. Continue choosing forgiveness where bitterness tries to grow. Continue believing that every season has meaning, even when you cannot yet understand it. Your story is still unfolding. Your purpose has not been erased. Your prayers have not disappeared into silence. They remain precious, and they continue to rise with every faithful heartbeat. So lift your eyes once more. Let peace replace fear. Let hope become stronger than doubt. Let faith carry you through every uncertain tomorrow, knowing that I remain with you through every step. The unexpected phone call was never the end of the story. It was the beginning of awakened hearts, renewed hope, and a journey where healing slowly becomes stronger than every wound. And as you continue forward, remember this, my child: when hearts choose truth, when souls choose grace, and when hope refuses to surrender, even the quietest moments can become the places where extraordinary new beginnings are born. God says, my child, keep listening, because what happened after that unexpected phone call reached far beyond anything your soulmate imagined. Long after the conversation had ended, the silence that followed became louder than the words themselves. They tried to distract their thoughts with ordinary responsibilities, but every attempt only brought your memory back with greater clarity. It was as though every path they chose somehow led them back to the same question they had been avoiding for so long. Why had your name returned to their heart with such unusual strength? Why did peace refuse to settle until they faced what they had hidden from themselves? Listen carefully, my child, because there are moments when the truth waits patiently outside the door of the heart until fear grows too tired to keep it closed. This was one of those moments. The walls your soulmate had spent so much time building no longer felt like protection. Instead, they felt like a prison. They began to realize that the strongest chains are often invisible, forged from regret, pride, unanswered questions, and the belief that it is safer to remain silent than to risk being vulnerable. But heaven had already begun loosening those chains long before they even recognized they existed. Stay with me. There is something you still do not know. On that very night, while your soulmate wrestled with emotions they could barely understand, you also felt something unusual stirring within your own spirit. You could not explain it. There was no message on your phone. No visible sign appeared before your eyes. Yet your heart felt different. It was as though a quiet whisper of hope gently touched your soul, reminding you not to abandon the faith that had carried you through so many difficult seasons. You questioned whether it was simply your imagination, but sometimes the deepest encouragement arrives without explanation. It comes quietly, strengthening you before you even realize why you need that strength. Keep listening, because heaven was weaving together events that neither of you could yet see. There were conversations happening in places you had never visited. There were decisions being made by people you had never met. There were circumstances quietly shifting behind the scenes. None of them appeared connected, yet every detail moved like pieces of a masterpiece being carefully arranged. Human eyes often see random events. Heaven sees purpose flowing through every season. My child, do not allow temporary confusion to convince you that your story has lost its direction. Even when you cannot recognize my hand, I continue working with wisdom greater than your understanding. Your soulmate began remembering promises they had once made to themselves. They remembered the person they wanted to become before fear convinced them to settle for less. They saw how disappointment had slowly changed their perspective, making them cautious where they had once been hopeful. They recognized how old wounds had influenced new decisions. For the first time in many seasons, they stopped blaming circumstances and began examining their own heart. That quiet moment of honesty became more powerful than they realized. Listen carefully, my child. Every lasting transformation begins with truth. No miracle of the heart can flourish where pride refuses to step aside. The moment your soulmate admitted their own fears, the journey toward healing truly began. It did not erase every struggle overnight, but it changed the direction of their spirit. They no longer wanted to hide behind excuses. They wanted peace more than they wanted to appear strong. They wanted honesty more than comfort. They wanted love rooted in truth rather than safety built upon silence. Stay with me. This is only the beginning. As days passed, unexpected reminders continued appearing before them. A familiar place. A familiar melody. A simple phrase spoken by someone who had no idea of its significance. Each reminder gently pointed back to the same lesson. What is meant to transform the heart cannot remain buried forever. Your soulmate found themselves praying differently than before. They stopped asking only for signs that confirmed what they wanted. Instead, they began asking for wisdom to recognize what was right. Those quiet prayers rose with sincerity, and sincere hearts always grow closer to peace. Meanwhile, my child, I continued strengthening you. Although you sometimes believed you were standing still, your spirit was becoming steadier. You learned to smile through uncertainty. You learned to choose kindness when disappointment tempted you toward bitterness. You learned that hope is not the absence of hardship but the decision to trust even while walking through it. Every lesson became another thread woven into the beautiful future I was preparing. Do not stop listening. There is something heaven has not revealed until now. The phone call that first stirred your soulmate's heart also stirred the hearts of others. People who had once misunderstood your story began seeing it through different eyes. Conversations changed. Assumptions faded. Truth quietly replaced rumors. Compassion slowly overcame judgment. No loud announcement marked these changes. They unfolded gently, just as sunrise slowly fills the horizon with light. My child, never underestimate the quiet power of truth. It does not need to shout to overcome deception. It only needs time to be revealed. Your soulmate finally understood that genuine love cannot be measured only by emotions. It is measured by courage, humility, patience, and the willingness to grow. They realized that loving someone also meant becoming the kind of person capable of protecting that love with honesty and faithfulness. This realization humbled them deeply. They saw how much healing was still needed, yet instead of losing hope, they found new determination. They no longer wished to escape the journey. They wished to walk it with wisdom. Keep listening, because the greatest revelation is still ahead. There will always be moments when fear whispers that nothing is changing. There will always be seasons when waiting feels heavier than believing. Yet remember this, my child. Seeds do not become trees in a single day. Rivers do not carve mountains in one moment. Hearts do not fully heal through one conversation alone. Growth is often quiet. Transformation is often unseen. But that does not make it any less real. Continue trusting the process of healing. Continue choosing forgiveness where resentment seeks to grow. Continue walking in hope even when certainty has not yet arrived. I remain with you in every unanswered question, every silent prayer, every lonely evening, and every hopeful sunrise. My presence has never left your side. The story unfolding before you is not one of perfect people suddenly finding easy answers. It is the story of imperfect hearts learning to surrender fear, embrace truth, and discover that hope becomes strongest when it is placed in my hands. So lift your eyes once more, my child. Let your spirit rest instead of striving. Let peace replace anxiety. Let faith become louder than doubt. The unexpected phone call was never simply about words exchanged between people. It became the moment when hidden hearts began awakening, when old wounds started healing, and when a future that once seemed impossible quietly moved one step closer to becoming reality. And remember always, my child, the greatest miracles often begin in silence, where only heaven fully understands what is being prepared before the world can finally see it. God says, my child, stay with me until the very end, because the final truth is not found in the phone call itself, nor in the questions that followed, but in the quiet transformation that took place within hearts willing to listen. There were still moments when your soulmate wondered whether everything they had begun to understand was real or simply the result of emotions they could not explain. Yet every time doubt attempted to return, peace gently reminded them of everything that had changed since that unexpected conversation. They were no longer the same person who had answered the phone. Their heart had become softer. Their spirit had become humbler. Their prayers had become more sincere. They no longer desired control above all else. Instead, they desired wisdom, truth, and the courage to walk wherever love guided them. Listen carefully, my child, because this is where many people misunderstand my work. They search only for dramatic moments while overlooking the quiet miracles unfolding inside them every day. The greatest miracle is often a heart choosing forgiveness instead of resentment. The greatest miracle is choosing hope after disappointment. The greatest miracle is allowing compassion to replace pride and faith to overcome fear. Those miracles may remain invisible to the world, but heaven rejoices over every one of them. Keep listening. There is something your heart needs to hear before this story comes to its close. Throughout this journey, you wondered why the waiting seemed so long. You questioned why certain doors remained closed. You asked why your prayers appeared to echo through silence. Yet if every answer had arrived immediately, neither you nor your soulmate would have become the people you were meant to be. Waiting refined your character. Delay strengthened your faith. Difficult seasons taught you wisdom that comfort alone could never have taught. Every chapter, even the painful ones, carried purpose beyond what your eyes could recognize at the time. Now look back with new understanding. The unexpected phone call was never an accident. It became the first ripple in a much greater story. It awakened memories that needed to return. It uncovered truths that had remained hidden beneath misunderstanding. It reminded your soulmate that genuine love cannot be silenced forever when it is rooted in honesty, humility, and hope. More importantly, it reminded both of you that every relationship worthy of lasting must first be built upon transformed hearts. Stay with me, my child. There is one final mystery to reveal. The future has never been shaped by fear alone, nor by emotions that change with every passing season. It is shaped one faithful decision at a time. Every act of kindness matters. Every sincere prayer matters. Every moment you choose integrity over compromise matters. Every time you refuse bitterness and choose grace instead, you are stepping closer to the person I created you to become. Whether paths reunite exactly as imagined or unfold in ways beyond present understanding, no season spent growing in love, wisdom, and faith is ever wasted. That is the deeper victory heaven celebrates. Your soulmate finally understood that true love is not about possession. It is about becoming someone capable of loving well, with patience, honesty, sacrifice, and compassion. You also discovered that your worth has never depended upon another person's ability to recognize it. Your value has always existed because you were created with purpose. No rejection could erase it. No delay could diminish it. No misunderstanding could take away the dignity I placed within your soul. Listen carefully, my child. Whenever fear whispers that you have been forgotten, remember this story. Remember the unexpected call that changed a heart. Remember the quiet nights that became places of healing. Remember that even in silence I was working. Remember that hope often grows where human eyes see nothing at all. Continue walking forward with confidence instead of anxiety. Let peace become your companion. Let forgiveness become your strength. Let wisdom guide every decision. Refuse to allow yesterday's pain to steal tomorrow's joy. Trust that every season has meaning, even when its purpose is not immediately visible. One day you may look back and realize that the moments you once called delays were actually preparations, and the interruptions you once feared were the very things that led you toward greater healing. This story ends not with fear, but with hope. It ends with hearts awakened to truth, spirits strengthened through perseverance, and lives forever changed by grace. So go forward, my child, carrying courage instead of worry, faith instead of despair, and love instead of bitterness. Lift your eyes toward tomorrow with quiet confidence. Continue becoming the person you were created to be. Let your heart remain open to healing, your spirit remain anchored in hope, and your soul remain at peace, knowing that no sincere prayer is ever unheard, no act of genuine love is ever forgotten, and no faithful step is ever without purpose. I remain with you through every sunrise and every shadow, through every unanswered question and every joyful revelation. Walk without fear, because you are never alone. Walk with hope, because your story is still unfolding. Walk with peace, because my presence goes before you, remains beside you, and surrounds you with enduring love. And may your heart leave this story not burdened by uncertainty, but strengthened by faith, comforted by hope, renewed by grace, and ready to embrace each new day with quiet confidence, trusting that every step taken in love and truth carries eternal value.